What is voluntary when you are pulled over during a traffic stop in Georgia? So, what do you have to do and what can you say no to? Well, there are two basic things that you have to do after stopping in connection with a traffic stop. If an officer asks you for your license, then you have to give it. And if the officer asks you to step out of the vehicle, then you must step out. The officer is authorized to conduct a temporary detention if they have observed a traffic offense or have any other reason to believe that criminal activity is afoot. So you do have to be compliant in turning over your license and identifying yourself and exiting the vehicle. But that's almost all that you have to do under the law. Everything else is voluntary. You can volunteer to let the officer search your car, or you can politely decline. You can volunteer to do field sobriety tests, or you can politely decline. The best way to determine whether or not you have an option is to audibly and clearly ask the officer if it is voluntary. People can get themselves into trouble because they think they don't have to exit the vehicle during a traffic stop. And if you refuse to exit the vehicle, well, then that will, in all likelihood, end in an arrest. And the officer can charge you with a host of all kinds of things, including obstruction. So it is important to know what your options are on the side of the road, because you certainly do not have to volunteer information about where you're going or what you've been up to. But you do want to know that you have to identify yourself and you have to exit the vehicle if you are so ordered by the police officer. But beyond that, anything the officer asks you is usually going to be voluntary, and you can always clarify, do so clearly, because often you will be being recorded, and make sure that you understand before giving any additional information whether or not it is voluntary or required by law. If you want to challenge how the officer treated you on the side of the road, then the appropriate place to do that is in court. But do not challenge an officer on the side of the road, because you will lose that challenge, and often it will end in arrest.